Decoy placement. It does matter. If you're looking to get those gobblers just up close and personal, this video is for you. I travel the country filming turkey hunts, and we were typically shooting them at 10, 15 steps away most of the time just to get that really good footage. And when you get a new turkey hunter out there and you just have that turkey come in so close, it's so exciting for them that they are just officially hooked to turkey hunting. And for me, that's just the main goal. So if you want to get that turkey in super close, this is how I do it. Of course, there's always the debate on whether or not you should use decoys, and every scenario is different, and sometimes decoys will not work. So it comes down to knowing the turkeys you're hunting and knowing the situation, knowing the terrain. If you have a thick area, almost like this here behind me, it gets really thick in there. And if the turkeys can't see that decoy, when they come in and all of a sudden it's just like an element of surprise, like, oh, there it is, and they're super close to it, a lot of times that's going to spook that turkey. Also, a turkey that maybe has been already pressured, already hunted, he's already seen some decoys, he might not come in. And that's also why I like to have several different kinds of decoys, because, you know, if I was on a field and he's seen that decoy, you know, from a little ways, he might have been out of range, I'm going to throw out a different decoy. So in a scenario where I'm hunting maybe a fresh turkey, it's beginning of the season, it's not super thick yet, the leaves haven't all popped out, the grass isn't too high, this is my favorite setup. If I'm going to run just 2 decoys, this is it. I like the breeding hen with a Jake. I will oftentimes set out another decoy, maybe like a feeding hen or just another standing hen somewhere. And typically, if that turkey's out here in front of me, I want the Jake to be the first turkey that turkey comes to, because more than likely, wherever you have this Jake decoy, it's going to come to the Jake first. I'd say 9 out of 10 times, he's coming to this decoy first. So what I don't want is I don't want to put out another hen decoy in front of him so that turkey comes in, he ends up going out around that decoy to come to this. There could be something that he doesn't like on that, and it could spook from it. I want this to be the first turkey he gets to, and more likely as soon as it gets here, that gun's going off. In some scenarios, turkeys swing way out wide and end up going past the turkey. I had my son's first turkey hunt, as a matter of fact. These 2 turkeys came in, they hung up, and you can almost tell when that turkey realizes there was a hen underneath this Jake, like, hey, this Jake, this young turkey is about to breed this hen, I better get there. And he walks right past my decoy, and it just puts that turkey right where you want him. And that's ultimately why I like to use decoys. A new hunter filming, it just puts them right where you want those turkeys to be. And in this case, he's 7 years old. You know, he couldn't swing his gun, so when that turkey gets right to this decoy, he was able to make that shot. So as long as the terrain is not super thick, I love the breeding hen. I really think that it fires up those longbeards. Later in the season, it gets a little harder to use. The ferns start to grow, or the grass in the fields get pretty high. You really just don't even see it. Sometimes I'll end up sticking like the decoy bag underneath it just to raise it up a little bit to get it out of the grass. So the first part of the season, I love this decoy. When I'm setting out the Jake, I typically will face him towards that gobbler. I don't want it to face back towards me. So when that turkey's approaching, this kind of depicts that this turkey is looking at something this way. I don't want it looking at me. So I'm always going to face this turkey facing where that turkey's gobbling at, or I'm facing it complete opposite direction from where I'm sitting. If I was to only use one decoy, I'd still use this Jake decoy. I just think that it fires them up. A longbeard, when they come in and they say, hey, there's this young turkey in here coming after my hens, you know, he's going to come in here and kind of assess the situation. I by far have shot more turkeys off this decoy than any other decoys. They will come in and smack this thing and beat it up, and it just makes for an unforgettable hunt. Now also keep in mind, you got a turkey gobbling straight out here in front of you. I don't like to set my decoys in between that gobbler and me. Basically, I want to make like a triangle. So if that turkey's gobbling straight out this way, and I'm going to sit straight behind me, so it's a nice straight line to that gobbler, I'm going to set those decoys off to the side, because what happens is if he just comes straight in, now you're directly in line with your decoys, and he's looking straight through you. So basically, if you have to move a little bit, he's going to spot you. And the other reason that I love decoys is because once they lock on these decoys, you can get away with some movement. You'll be surprised, especially if you're using a bow, or again, have a youngster with you and they might have to shimmy a little bit. You can get away with a lot of movement. I film my own hunts, and just this past year, you can see that I eventually have to take my hands off the camera and pick up the gun. This turkey was so focused on the decoys that he saw me move, but he's just like, whoa, wait, what is this? And by then it was too late. If I didn't have those decoys out, I really feel like that turkey would have just bolted the second that he saw me, because he'd been looking for me the whole time. That's why I think decoys are important. It takes their attention off of you. So when you have a new hunter, or again, you're trying to film things, that's why I most of the times like to run decoys. So by setting them decoys off to the side, when they come in, he's not looking across the decoy into you. He's now looking off to the side. So I like to put that decoys off to my left or right, like we'll say almost like a 45, you know, as if he's straight out in front of me. I'll put him off to the sides. And again, it just really takes the focus off of exactly where you are. Like, he's hearing you call and he knows where you are. I also like to throw the sound of my call one way or another. So if I have my decoy over here, I kind of angle my sound to go that way. I don't want him to know exactly where I'm at. So to get those gobblers in close, obviously you got to set your decoys close. I'm literally setting these 8 to 10 steps away from me. If you're in a real thick area, you might be best to not put out decoys. Again, a lot of times it's that element of surprise. If they don't see that turkey, you know, leading up to them coming into your setup, it might spook them the second they see it, because they're right on top of it. I think that when they can see it from a distance, they kind of focus in on that, and it gives them plenty of time to get used to it. So if it is thick, a lot of times you might not want to put out the decoys and go very soft calling and very, very little calling. And a lot of times those turkeys, if you're not constantly on the call, they'll come looking for you and end up right in your lap. So there is no, you know, guaranteed setup that's going to work every time. It doesn't work like that. And this is typically, in the right situation, there's always like this formula that this is how I like to do it, and this is what gets them close. And I promise you, it is so much fun. We got one last year on film. It was literally 5 steps from us. So I hope this helps you think a little bit on just how you're setting out your decoys. You don't want to just necessarily just throw them out there. Some cases, you know, they gobble so close and you're like, oh, you know, you just throw them out anywheres. But be a little more aware of where you're setting them in relation to where that turkey's coming in. Keep the decoys close to you. And the other key is make sure that you're tucked away and hidden in something. If you're just out on a small tree and you're skyline a little bit, they're probably going to see you. So make sure you're tucked away into some brush. So you want to be hidden. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. And I really appreciate you guys watching.